Okay, so this is going to be another rant type video relating to Final Fantasy VII. These are just like some additional thoughts that I have. I've taken some time to kind of reflect and think about things. So I'm just going to jump right into it. There's spoilers for Final Fantasy VII and its remake. So if you're not interested in that, then please don't watch this video. Take your time, enjoy it, come back later. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. I already did a video about my thoughts, so this is kind of like a part two or like a supplementary part to this video. So here we go. And I'm just going off some notes. So I've had some time to think about the game and the ending, and it really lacks direction in my opinion, and it doesn't sit well with me. I'm worried about the future of the series. Um, they seem like they don't even know what to do with their own game. They're uncertain about how many releases there'll be, what the schedule will be. I mean, is this gonna be multiple games over the next 5, 6, 7 years? Will it be DLC content? Will there be chapters? What's what's gonna happen here? So, um, one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to get into hard mode. So initially, yeah, I beat the game and I want an extra challenge, so I jumped right into hard mode. I was immediately turned off by the hard mode. I'm sure it gets challenging later and aspects of it are challenging, but just look, like when I finished the normal difficulty game, I was level 37. By the time I finished chapter 2, I was almost level 49. So immediately they throw experience at you. I immediately gained like 5 or 6 levels just in chapter 1, just working my way through the guys, one-shotting them. I was just triple slashing entire hordes of enemies and maxing out everything, materia, whatever. And then also, it's insulting to open chests and get just a potion or 100 gil in hard mode. I mean, first of all, you can't use items. I sold all my items. I'm a bit of an item hoarder anyway. I had 66 mega potions saved up. You don't use much items anyway. Like once you level up your spells, yeah, cure, regen, barrier, revive, so yeah, and then Gil is basically worthless. So yeah, sold all my items. Um, yes, so beat the game, gauntlet of bosses. Oh yeah, so that's the thing. Like you go through the game, you do all these bosses, so surely you have some idea of how combat works in this game. Surely you understand how to like stagger an enemy, your materia is in the right place, your setup is good to go, you've upgraded your weapons, you have an idea about the strategy, you've assessed all the damn enemies in the game, or if not, you just have your assess materia, you can expose the elemental weaknesses. You have to have some idea of what you're doing, so the combat is not exactly really that hard. You just pay a little bit more attention, be careful, block, expose the weaknesses. Another thing, like it would have been really interesting to see some ideas that I think have been implemented really well in the past. Like, for example, unbeatable boss fights. One example is when the Turks capture your party in Shinra in the original game and you're arrested. It would have been cool to have sort of like a fight like that where you're supposed to lose, but if you play your cards right, if you do it well, it could be a kind of like an additional challenge. Um, you know, let's see here. Yeah. Or it would have been cool to like explore more of the Shinra building, like actually have different floors and you go up all the floors and stuff like that. Kind of yes. So yeah, and instead of jamming a bunch of stuff in a simulation, that leads me to believe, like, was there cut content? Did they rush? I mean, they took all this time to make this game, and they focused on everything except the story, you know? The filler is not that good, it's not that memorable, and it's really tedious. It really just drags on, and it's a huge turnoff for me. Like, I want hard mode, I want the platinum trophy, but man, like, I had fun, but I didn't have that much fun to go through all the puzzles again, the thing with the lamps, the thing in Hojo's lab, switching between the parties. It just got so tiring. Um, let's see. Item hoarding. I didn't. You can't use items. There's still MP in all the boxes. You still get your hit points back in benches. Like, just the items being gone is not that big of a handicap. It sucks, but you can continue. Your materia is maxed out. Okay. So if you take into account the expanded universe of the game, that includes all the spin-off titles, and like, different people came into it at different points. So basically, like, I'm kind of a purist, and I played the original, so I'm kind of looking at it from that standpoint. And I'm sorry, I know I sound like an old guy just yearning for the good old days long gone. But you see, the original story was amazing. It had its like, complex elements of the plot. It had different things, and it was done really well. It was done for a reason, and it was beautiful. Like, not everything had to be explained. That's part of the mystery. So did they not have confidence in the story and their own characters, that it wasn't gonna sell? I mean, so many people were hyped for this, and now, I mean, you can't please everybody, but I'll get to that later. So there's this modern notion in films and books and games, of subverting our expectations and doing our things for shock value. Like, oh, this person dies, this person dies, this person dies, everybody dies. The plate drops on them. Oh, just kidding. Nobody's really dead, or things like this. So, um, I really feel like that undermines the narrative. It's a unique story. They spent so much time doing other shit except the story. Um, I'm sorry, I'm just going off my notes here. I kind of have it in random order because I really wanted to get these thoughts out. But I accept there's more to the FF7 universe than the original game. There's been the spin-off titles and a movie, so it's okay to do something new with the old and explore new ideas. The idea is good in a sense, but the execution was not great. The ending was horrible because the whole narrative changed. Throughout the Final Fantasy VII, there's the mystery of Sephiroth. The whole thing is a huge buildup. Jenova crashed into the planet 2,000 years ago. They thought maybe she was an ancient or a Cetra, but no, she was just like a malevolent alien life form. Sephiroth was created from the cells, Dr. Hojo experimenting on Lucretia, and he was just like a sick, twisted scientist. And so Sephiroth was told that Jenova was his mother, not Lucretia. He became kind of crazy. He found out. He became obsessed with the idea. And but seeing the beauty of it is all that was 5 years ago. Cloud was also experimented on, and his memories are uncertain. He was traumatized. He was like broken as a person. So throughout the whole thing, there's like these slow realizations. There's a psychological kind of layer to it. Things happen for a reason, and the story starts where it does for a reason and goes to where it goes for a reason. And his whole journey is just freeing himself from Sephiroth's control and coming into his own as a person, and standing with his friends. So in this game, it's 4 to 6 hours. 4 if you're really rushing, 6 if you take your time, maybe 7. But it's just the very beginning of the game. So you would not be much higher than level like 15 or 18 if you're really grinding. So that's low level Cloud, low level characters. But by the end of this game, if you, I mean, if you really kind of go all in, do the hard mode, whatever, you're level 50. Your materia is maxed out. You have all the summons. You have maximum magic. So, what do we have to look forward to? Um, like, are we, yeah, just gonna be level 50 right outside of Midgar? Um, and also, how many games will it take to flesh out the original story? That's my biggest thing. 4 to 5 games, DLC content. I mean, do we want to pay $400 for this game? Um, in the original narrative, he goes to the city of Calm. He explains to the party who Sephiroth is and his accounts of the events. Now, his accounts might not necessarily be correct. You know, Cloud tells them that he was in Soldier, but he wasn't really. It was his best friend Zack, and see that's a whole other thing. Like, who is Zack right now? We don't really know yet. We find out later, but they're throwing all this at us, and it leaves people confused. Even the people who are very familiar with the story. I'm familiar with the original game, and I didn't play Crisis Core or any of the others. I watched Advent Children as well. I feel I'm pretty familiar with the story. I'm not an expert, but I enjoyed it a lot, and it has its own complexities. It has its own sort of things that are there for a reason that lead to these points, and they sort of changed the narrative. They added a bunch of stuff, and they slapped the ghosts and all this other crap on top of it, and it just unnecessarily complicated the original narrative. So, okay, where are we at? Where are we at? Uh, okay, so in my opinion, this was just an idea that I had. They could use that point of the game. They could have. They fucked it up already, but they could have used. They could have just kept it faithful when they got to right outside of Midgard, that little town right outside where Cloud tells the party what happened. That's when you can do the alternate universe bullshit. You can you can take advantage of Cloud's uncertain memory to make it go like one way or the other. Okay, or Red 13. I just, listen, here's the thing. Okay, so throughout the whole game, you have, is Sephiroth doing it? Is Jenova doing it? You see all these like manifestations of Sephiroth, but you're fighting Jenova, so there's like this whole thing. It's the cells. Is it, you know, and is Cloud a clone? What's going on? You know, and so okay, yeah, that's what I said. The plot is confusing to begin with, and now it's even more confusing with Zack and all the extra stuff at the end. Um, it creates a lot of problems. Just anything with time or alternate stuff, it just creates a lot of problems because, all right, look, you're not gonna hear it from me. It's floating around all over the place, but Eris dies. Um, Final Fantasy VII was very bold. It killed off a main character permanently. There's nothing you can do. There's all these theories. People tried. They dug through everything. There's ideas that maybe she was meant to be in the game. There's that art where she's looking at the airship, but she, you know, that's like long, she's dead long before you get the airship. All this stuff, so maybe she wasn't meant to die, blah blah blah, whatever. But you could just kind of continue forever with it, you know? So why stop with saving someone who wasn't supposed to die? Why not just change history? Why not go back and stop Shinra? Why not go back and kill Hojo before he started experimenting? You know, or just even go all the way back and stop Jenova. I don't know. So yeah, so the game assumes that you know stuff, and as someone coming into it fresh, it just leaves you confused. And everyone that I've met that likes the game just likes it because of the amazing graphics and the flashy lights and beautiful colors. And oh yeah, I don't know why people are so upset. The game, it looks so good. Yeah, it's such a cool game. Holy shit. you know so uh it wasn't my favorite game of the series, but it's one that's very special to me. That creeping dread that's there in the game. The layers are slowly peeled back. You slowly find out the story. I kind of touched on this. I'm sorry, my notes are all over the place. Yeah, who was Cloud? Was he really in Soldier, etc., etc.? Who is Sephiroth? Yes, yes, yes. The combat is the most enjoyable. I really enjoyed it, except the aerial shit. It was hard to hit enemies in the air, but if you just have Barret, you can just knock them out. Is our save gonna carry over? Are we gonna be level 50? What's gonna happen with that? Let's see. Power creep. The things that Cloud did, that fight at the end is basically like the Advent Children fight, which is the movie that takes place. That's the most recent thing in the story. That's 2 years after the game. And that fight that they had, it was basically that. So 2 years. How could low level Cloud, 6 hours of the opening game, just skip to 2 years? He was essentially Sephiroth's puppet, so he wouldn't have been able to exert that kind of willpower and mastery. So that bothers me. Oh man, I put this all the way at the end. The motorcycle character that they introduced, Roche, he was cool. Like, he was all right. He was kind of weird, but we never see him again. Never. I was so tired at the end. The highway boss fight thing. I thought that they would dispatch him to try to stop the party since he's such a motorcycle expert, but we don't even see him. So, you see, they're doing all this other stuff, introducing all these other things, but they're not focusing on the main thing. So how many games could it possibly take to tell the whole thing? Were they being truthful when they said they would stick to the original narrative? Was it just, So, but see, the game sold very well. So I guess they'll keep it going. I'm very reluctant. I'm trying so hard to like it. I'm trying so hard. It looks so good. But there's just something missing for me. There's just something missing. See, here's the thing. That I'm wrapping this up. Please bear with me. So if this was Final Fantasy 16, it would have been passable. It would have been a decent game. They introduced some new ideas. Cool. Just change the world up a little bit, do a couple different things. Shit, man. Why? It's so frustrating to see the story that we love to be used to kind of introduce these new things. Time travel and alternate universe stuff, it doesn't work well with Final Fantasy VII. Now, see, there may be a lot of politics inside the company. Obviously, I don't know about, it seems like to me after Final Fantasy X, the directions of the series started changing. They started making more like spin-off things and kind of taking advantage of nostalgia. And even now, like, we're in a world of remakes now. So, in conclusion, could the game have been better? Yes. Could it have been worse? Of course. I wish the story was more complete. I hope in the next installment we get more of what's great about the game and less of what made it so tedious. We want to have maximum fun while remaining loyal to the original story, because the original story is amazing, and if you want to introduce it to like a new crop of players, go ahead. It's there. It's great. So I just man, frustrated at this. Yeah, the final fight, it's very Advent Children-y. That's 2 years after the main story. That was kind of weird. Yeah, the whole evolution of Cloud, and it seems to me like the creators don't understand their own game or like their own intellectual property. It's more than just like cool looking guys with big swords. There's so much more depth to it. Um, and I'm calling it right now. You heard it here on my channel. This is my big thing. Okay. So, when we reach Sid Highwind, he's a character who was part of Shinra's space program, but he was never able to go. There were some problems with the rocket launch. This certain woman in his life. You'll find out later, but I'm calling it. You heard it here first. When we reach Sid, if they're pushing the alternate bullshit, we're going to space, boys, so strap in. We're hopping on that rocket. Forget the airship. We're going to be traveling through the cosmos, searching for Genova, going to other planets. Fuck it, man. I don't know. And another thing, like, see, Final Fantasy 15, I wanted to love that game, but they need to learn a lesson because you see, you don't release an incomplete and bullshit product, and then when you have people upset, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but you don't do that, have people upset, then work so hard to make all this quality DLC and just like polish the game and do all this stuff like a year later when people are already turned off to the idea. So I just really feel like they could have done this better. These are my final thoughts. I'm slowly but surely working through hard mode. I want to get the platinum trophy, but I'm just not that motivated. I don't know if I want to go through all that again. Especially since like I blew through the first 2 chapters and I was already 50. Everything's already maxed out. Why? Why? But besides that, it looks good, it feels good, but the direction going forward is really concerning. And that's all I have to say about the game. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.